So let's do this. Let's put my money where my mouth is on this. Still, to this day, the biggest video that I've ever made basically told you to just go buy an SM57, that it'll solve all of your problems. I told you that you could use it for voiceover. I told you that it's very easy to power, especially compared to the SM7B. It's cheaper than most microphones, and it's known to be legendary on more than any one instrument. You could basically use it for anything. But you know what I haven't done? I haven't really used it on very many productions on this channel, so let's change that. Today, I'm going to walk you through the production process of the first ever cover on this channel. So let's hope we don't get demonetized. That means everything was exclusively recorded on SM57s, electric guitar, acoustic guitar, vocals, any percussion, even bass. Oh, I have a ghost. So we're going to be doing all of that today, and we're going to record percussion with whatever things I can find in my room, because we're still in an apartment. We have to work with what we got. 1 second here. You got me? You looking at me? Okay, cool. So this video is actually sponsored by Shure, but they only want to tell you one thing, which is for the entire rest of the year until New Year's, they're actually doing a 20% off sale for the holiday season. So go check out the link below and see all the special deals that they have going, because there's a lot of really good stuff there. And that's it. That's the whole ad read. So let's get back to work. So let's start off with the basics here, and then we'll get into some production techniques. First and foremost, the Shure SM57 is likely the most prolific microphone on the planet. Why is that important? Well, regardless of the application you're using it for, regardless if it's the most ideal microphone for said application, there is likely documentation on the internet to help you out, because somebody at some point on the planet probably did what you're doing, and on top of that, probably one of those people posted about it on the internet. For example, here is a video on how to record an entire drum kit only using one SM57. Maybe not the most optimal situation, but there are very few microphones where you can find information like this readily available. The SM57 requires 56 decibels of gain in order to get around optimal levels. While many other dynamic microphones require more than this, this makes the SM57 more than optimal for any number of budget setups that might have weaker hardware. Being a dynamic microphone that is naturally good at room rejection, it's going to work well in less than ideal, messy, chaotic home studio environments, like mine. These things all combine to make a killer microphone in almost any setting. So let's see how it does in application rather than just theory. We'll be covering Like Real People Do by Hosier today, and we are joined by the incredibly talented vocalist Ava Barta. She's actually a subscriber, so I'm really hoping to feature more people from the community in these kinds of videos. Go check out her Instagram. She is, like I already said, insanely talented. Right, so let's start with acoustic guitar. And I'm sorry if you hear stuff coming from outside. It's Friday night in Brooklyn, so it's kind of insane. Now, there are a bunch of different approaches that you can take here. I'm going to show you two of them. One would be just a single SM57, and the other is going to be two SM57s. I figured I should show you both because I think the two SM57 sounds much better, but I do realize that a lot of you are just going to have the one. So let's cover both. For the one microphone setup, there's pretty much only one position that I find myself using on the regular. And perhaps you've heard this before, it's a pretty standard setup. That would be about 4 or 5 inches away from the 12th fret at about a 30 to 45 degree angle pointing at the sound hole. Let's take a quick video so you can see. So few inches away from the 12th fret, pointing towards the sound hole. There's a few reasons why this is the most common setup that you find people using. Whenever it comes to an instrument that resonates within itself and pushes sound outwards, different positions on the actual instrument will lead to different tones. Things up higher here, you're gonna get more high end, you're gonna get more string noise, it's gonna be less full, but it's gonna be more bright. This side of the instrument is going to be a lot darker, but also a lot warmer. This strikes a nice balance between the two without getting in the way of the sound hole. If we decide to put this microphone directly on top of the sound hole, all of that air coming out of it is going to have kind of a woofy, dark, muddy sound. Here, let's move it down a little bit. There we go. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't experiment with other positions, especially if you're doing a bunch of overdubs. For example, I could pan this position to the hard right, or maybe even mid right, and I could pan another darker position on the mid left and make a much more nuanced, detailed tonal image. I could keep doing this too, as many times as I want, all with one microphone, as long as we're working with a click or something that we can track and trace. Or you could do what I'm gonna do on this particular session. But before we get into that, let's hear what just the one microphone tone sounds like. So, what I'm actually going to end up doing is use a second SM57 in that darker tone that I was mentioning before. So if I put a 57 here and also have that standard position I was just talking about, I can do that stereo miking technique, but in the same take. I'm going to have one microphone pinned to the right, one microphone pinned to the left, both of them getting different tonal qualities because they're hitting different parts of the instrument. This is not only going to lead to a much wider, larger tone, but it'll lead to a more detailed, nuanced tone, not to mention filling out that stereo image in a much larger capacity. And in this scenario, because it's all one take, we're keeping that level of intimacy that you would get from just a one guitar recording. So let's hear what this sounds like. Let's also hear me move this microphone around so you can hear kind of the differences in tone that we get from different parts of the instrument. Right, so next up is vocals, and again, with such a limited setup that we're working with, Ava chose to do one of the only few options that makes sense, which is pretty much just having a healthy 7 to 9 inches between the microphone and the sound source, or the vocal, with a pop filter in between to kind of regulate your distance. Sometimes during the performance, singers can kind of get caught up in it, which obviously has its benefits, but you could also make it plosive, you could distort or clip, you could very easily engage too much of the proximity effect and maybe get an uneven vocal take. So having that pop filter to guard is just like a little hack. You could potentially play around with the singer's position of their jawline a little bit. You could kind of change the angle and the way that you sing, which actually can influence the timbre that you're making with your voice. I made a whole video about vocal production and we cover that. So here's that video if you'd like to go check it out. So let's talk a little bit about recording electric guitar, which means I'll be right back. With electric guitar, we're going to work with something pretty simple once again because of our limited setup. That being said, a lot of people just think recording electric guitar as a whole is very simple, and that could not be further from the truth. You can get endlessly complex with how you record electric guitar, but we have kind of just one mic. Hey, hon. So for this purpose, but not all purposes, you can kind of think of the amp as a flat plane. Here, hold on. So wherever you decide to put the microphone within this plane relative to the circular speaker in the middle, you're going to get different tones. Farther towards the corner, any corner, they're going to result in similar things because we have one singular speaker in the middle. You're going to get a darker, more distant tone. And then sitting right on top of the speaker cone, hi, honey. This is where you're going to get the brightest tone, right directly at the center and as close as possible. Now, the further you get away, the more room you're going to hear, and also the duller and darker the tone is going to be. And dull isn't necessarily bad. I really wanted this to be a really high production shot. I hope it is. So I think the best way to demonstrate this is to just have somebody play the electric guitar, and I will move the SM57 around the cab so you can hear all these tones live. Now, I can tell you just from experience where I'm going to end up putting the SM57, and that is near the edge of the rim of the speaker. I'll flip the amp around in a second so you can see. But I typically like a good balance between the dark corners and then also the brightness of the center. So if I flip this amp around, hey, get out of it, get out of, so right in the center here, that's the brightest tone. I typically place the mic right near the rim here, close mic'd, close to the speaker, right up to the grill, maybe a couple inches off. And then, you know, slightly off axis for a medium bright tone. If I wanted a darker, more loose tone, I would get further towards the other side. And if I wanted a brighter tone, I might place it right on top of the cone and then just a few inches back to mitigate how harsh that's gonna sound. So next up, in terms of bass, there's a deep low bass drone on G, because we're in the key of G. Now, the obvious answer here is just to not even use an SM57 and to just do a DI. You should probably just do a DI, but I made a rule for myself and I'm gonna stick to that rule, which is only using SM57. So time to do something kind of dumb. I recorded out of our larger HS8 monitors that we have in the living room and then into my laptop on a separate system. Hey, don't do this. And especially don't do this if you only have one laptop recording and projecting the sound, being the input and the output. That is literally the definition of a feedback loop. You will destroy your ears, you'll destroy your speakers, and you'll destroy your will to live. This is a YouTube video, and we're proving a point about a specific piece of hardware. Guess who forgot to record a transition for this part? Me. Anyways, for the kick drum, all I did was slap a bass, sounds like this. And that's it. Yeah, anyways, enjoy the performance and make sure to stick around till the end because I'm gonna introduce a new assistant that I just hired.
I could not ask you,
So what do you think? Did I prove my point? No? Well, I guess that means you're just gonna have to spend $2,000 on great hardware. That really sucks, dude. Okay, anyways, thank you to Shure for sponsoring this video. Remember, they're running that 20% off sale all throughout the rest of the year. Thanks to Ava for joining me on this production. It was a pleasure to work with you. Oh, and I have an exciting announcement to make. We have a new assistant. All right. I am excited to have you here. Are you ready to get to work? Nice. Nice. Why don't you go ahead and show yourself? Let people see who's doing the operation, things like that. Oh, come on. Why not? Are you a little camera shy? You look great. And it's a little bit ironic, don't you think, that you're a little camera shy? Go ahead. Let people see who you are. So do you have like a name or anything? Okay, 1 second. Okay, well, best name in the comments section wins. If you'd like, you can follow me on Instagram here. If you'd like to work on a project with me, you can email me here. And that is all. Talk to you guys later.